Hey everyone, today is episode 10 of Be Well. Thank you all so much for tuning into these episodes. It's been really fun to gather information and film these every week, and I hope you're finding them valuable. Today we're going to talk about vitamin D. What is it, what it does, how much you need, and the best ways to get it. So first, what is vitamin D? So vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, and this means that it is absorbed in the body in the presence of fat, and our bodies can actually store it for a long period of time. It's naturally present in only a few foods, which is why it's been added to some foods, and vitamin D is also available as a dietary supplement. And now while we can get it from dietary sources or supplements, vitamin D it's also synthesized in the skin when we're exposed to sunlight. So here is a list of benefits that are associated with vitamin D. So get ready if you want to screenshot this. The primary function of vitamin D, it's to help our body absorb calcium. And we all know because calcium is one of the bone's main building blocks, vitamin D is important for building and maintaining strong bones. And together with calcium, it's actually been shown to help reduce the risk of osteoporosis. Some other functions of vitamin D, the immune system, it needs it to fight off infections. Our muscles, they need vitamin D to move. Our nerves, they also need vitamin D to carry messages between the brain and every part of the body. Also, a deficiency of vitamin D, so people who aren't getting enough vitamin D. This has been shown to be associated with some cancers, some immune disorders, cardiovascular diseases, and also abnormal glucose metabolism. So next, what are the best ways to get vitamin D? As I mentioned earlier, you can get vitamin D 3 ways. You can get it from food, through supplementation, and also through exposure to sunlight. So first, our bodies, they actually make vitamin D when our skin is exposed to direct sunlight. But the amount of D that your skin makes, it actually depends on a number of factors. It depends on the time of day, the season, where you live, your skin color, your weight, and also your age. So for example, the farther that you live from the equator, the less vitamin D producing light that reaches you, and therefore the less vitamin D you make, especially during those winter months. So people who live in the US and Canada, Europe, they make very little vitamin D, if any, especially during October or November through February or March. And also these shorter days and all the clothes that people wear that cover much of their body, this limits sun exposure too and the ability of the body to make vitamin D. I also mentioned skin color. So melanin, it's that substance in the skin that makes it dark. It actually competes for the UV light with the substances in the skin that produce vitamin D. So because of this, dark-skinned people, they tend to require more sun exposure than light-skinned people to generate the same amount of vitamin D. Also really interesting, body fat, it actually sops up vitamin D. So the more you weigh, the higher your BMI, which is your weight relative to your height, the more vitamin D that you seem to need. And finally, age. So compared to younger people, older people, they actually have lower levels of that substance in the skin that converts UV light from the sun into vitamin D. In addition to sun exposure, you can also get vitamin D through foods. But as I mentioned, vitamin D it actually isn't present naturally in many foods. Fatty fish like salmon and tuna, mackerel, these are the best sources of vitamin D, and also some cheeses, egg yolks, mushrooms. They contain a small amount of naturally occurring vitamin D as well. And now because vitamin D, it's not naturally present in many foods, it has been added to some foods. Fortified foods, they actually provide most of the vitamin D in our diet. Our milk supply, for example, it's fortified with vitamin D, also breakfast cereal, some orange juices, yogurts, margarine, some soy beverages, they have added vitamin D as well. And finally, you can get vitamin D through supplementation. Supplementation is actually the best way to help you achieve adequate blood levels of this really important nutrient. And lastly, how much vitamin D do you need? So the amount of vitamin D you need each day, it actually depends on your age. So the average recommended daily amount for adults that are between the ages of 18 and 70 is 600 IU's per day. And for adults over 70, it's 800 IU's per day. So for reference, the US milk supply, it's fortified with about 100 IU's of vitamin D per cup. And a 3-ounce serving of salmon has about 570 IU's of vitamin D. But unfortunately, average intake levels of vitamin D from food alone is well below these recommended amounts. Men, they get between 200 and 290 IU's per day, and women get even less. They get between 150 and 275 IU's per day. Not surprisingly, when use of dietary supplements is considered, these mean values, they increase significantly. So make sure you're looking for a multivitamin that contains at least the RDA of this critically important vitamin. Now, if you want to know how you're doing, please, I encourage you to ask your primary care physician to check your blood levels, ideally at the end of the summer as well as at the end of winter, because you may need more in the winter months. And just try not to miss a day of getting this important vitamin. Thank you, as always, for tuning into this episode of Be Well today. I'm actually going to be doing a Q&A episode this month, so I'd love to open it up to you guys and answer any questions you have about health and wellness. Please just leave a comment below or message us on Facebook or Instagram with your questions. And I can't wait to hear from you all. Bye-bye.